Hello, my little pretties. What's up? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions here. And today I want to say it's New Year's Eve. I want to say Happy New Year's Eve to you guys. So, with that being said, this is episode 49. This is episode 49 of Shadows and Pretties. I want to thank you so much for, being here for this year for me, especially through the hard times that we went through this year, and I'm really do appreciate you guys for the support and all that you've given me throughout this year. So, with that being said, I am going to sit there and say this right now that today, to start off, the new year is going to be rising upon us sometime in a little while, and it's New Year's Eve. I want to thank you so much for supporting me this year, and we can really hope that 2021 is going to be a much better year compared to how this year is, and I'm really do hoping for that. So today we are going to dive into the story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, the original story and the Disney one. So the Disney one is a very different one. The original one that was made by Victor Hugo, who is the one who made the Hunchback of Notre Dame, story, the original story, and that is a lot more darker than the one that we have, than the Disney one. So, with that being said, this Disney one came out in 1996. So most of you guys who are probably a kid in the 90s or even early 2000s probably have remembered seeing this on VHS as a young kid. I'm sure most of you guys have. So, with that being said, this story in the film is based on the 1831 novel of the same name by Victor Hugo. So, I am going to get to the original story after we go through the Disney one so that you guys will have an idea of what happened in the Disney one, because I know most of you guys probably remembered. So, with that being said, I am going to say this right now that here's a little bit of some, pretty interesting facts. So, sometime in late of 1993, Cyndi Lauper was the first actor to attach the film during its initial stages. She was thinking of being the cast for as Esmeralda, but unfortunately, that didn't really work out. So, yeah, so they got another actor. And there were certain actors that they wanted to, include in, but they're either, didn't work out or they just turned it down and stuff like that. So, with that being said, I am going to sit here and say right now that this story, of its own self, is really well made. So, the film was released sometime in 1996. So, there is a, there is like a sequel behind this, so we'll talk about the sequel, but in a little bit, because there's not been really much to say about the sequel. So, it did win a lot of rewards in that, I can definitely say that now. So, anyways, I'm going to explain what the story is about. So, this story takes place in 1482 in Paris, where Roman puppeteer narrates the origin of the Hunchback for his 20 years prior. So, basically, the group of Romanians sneak illegally into Paris to be ambushed by Judge Claude Frollo. And, of course, with that being said, the woman who attempts to flee with her deformed baby, but Frollo chases and kills her outside of Notre Dame. But of course, he tries to kill the baby as well, but the Cathars Archangel intervenes and accuses Frollo for murdering the innocent woman, and atone to his sin. Frollo reluctantly agrees to raise the deformed child in Notre Dame, naming his son Quasimodo. And yes, this is actually a very messed up story. It's already messed up. So 20 years later, back in 1982, well, not 19, but 1482. My goodness. I do apologize if I messed up it, guys, because it's been like so long since I've seen this movie. So I do, apologize if I mess up. So, with that being said, Quasimodo develops into a kind yet innocent young man and still is deformed, but how is a pronounced hunchback. However, though, with that being the case, who has lived outside of the cathedral his entire life, and the trio of living-some gargoyles, has served as Quasimodo's only company, encourage him to attend to the annually field Festival of Fools. So despite the Frollo's warnings that he could be shunned for his deformity, Quasimodo attends the festival and is celebrated for his awkward appearance, only to be humiliated by the crowd after two of Frollo's guards started a riot. So Frollo refuses to help Quasimodo, but Esmeralda, who is the kind gypsy, intervenes in freeing the Hunchback and uses a magic trick to evade what you could say the arrest. However, Frollo confronts Quasimodo, sends him back inside the Caffredel. So Esmeralda follows Quasimodo inside, only to be followed by Captain Phoebus, who is one of Frollo's guard. But however, Phoebus refuses to arrest her for Algie's witchcraft out inside of Notre Dame, and instead tells Frollo that she has chimed in the asylum inside the church. So with the Archon orders Frollo and his men out, Esmeralda finds and befriends with Quasimodo, who helps her to escape. So Notre Dame, outside of its gratitude for defending him, she retrusts Quasimodo and the pendant to help contain the map of gypsies about the courts of miracles. So Frollo soon develops lustful feelings for Esmeralda. Very creepy because he was a lot older than her. I don't even know how old Esmeralda is. Then upon realizes them and begs the Virgin Mary to save him from her spell to avoid eternal damnation. So when Frollo discovers that she has escaped, he instigates a citywide search to find her, which involves her being arresting the gypsies and setting fire to countless houses along the way. Horrified when Frollo orders him to burn down a house with the family inside, Phoebus openly defiles him, and Frollo orders him to be executed. So while fleeing, Phoebus is then struck by an arrow and falls into the riverside, but Esmeralda rescues him and then takes him to the Notre Dame for refugee. So the gargoyles encourage Quasimodo to confess his feelings for Esmeralda, but he is heartbroken when he discovers that she and Phoebus have fallen in love. So Frollo returns to Notre Dame later that night and discovers that Quasimodo helped Esmeralda escape, and he bluffs to Quasimodo, saying that he knows everything about the Court of Miracles and intends to attack at dawn around with 1,000 man. So using the map that Esmeralda gave him, Quasimodo and Phoebus finds the court and warns the gypsies, only to Frollo to find them and capture all the gypsies in presence. So Frollo prepares to burn Esmeralda at the stake of rejecting his advantages. Quasimodo rescues her and brings her to the Caffredel, but of course Phoebus releases the gypsies and rallies the Paris citizens against Frollo and his man, who tried to break down the Caffredel. Quasimodo and the gargoyles pour molten lead onto the streets to ensure that no one enters, but Frollo successfully manages to get inside and pursues Quasimodo and Esmeralda on the balcony, where he and Quasimodo fight. Of course, with that being said, Frollo falls to his death in the molten lead, while Phoebus catches Quasimodo and lowered the floor. So afterwards, Quasimodo comes to accept that Phoebus and Esmeralda were in love, and he gives them his blessing, and the two encourage him to leave the Caffredel outside to the real world, where the citizens hail him as hero and accept him into society. So that's basically what the original story of Hunchback Notre Dame is. So I definitely have to say I watched this when I was a young kid, and it was actually one of my favorite. It was a pretty good movie as a young kid growing up. So let's go with the sequel. There's nothing really much with the sequel. It just takes place after. So with that being said, let's get started with this. So of course it takes 6 years after the events of the first film, with the death of Frollo, and Phoebus serve as Paris captain of the guard under the justice. Phoebus and Esmeralda are not married and become the parents of their 5-year-old son named Zephyra. So of course Quasimodo in this case is now accepted as a Parisian society, even though he still lives in the Notre Dame de Paris with the gargoyles as the Caffredel's bell ringer. So basically a circus troupe led by, well, you could say a bunch of people that, of course, who is a master criminal and plans to steal Notre Dame's most beloved bell. So that's basically what it is. It's basically like a sequel of the second one. I could definitely say the second movie did have potential, but I really prefer the first one, as the first one was a pretty good story. Yet again, I'm saying this right now, I'm not going for the second movie because I've not seen it, but I just thought I would just give you just kind of like a little bit of a summary, a bit of what's happening in the beginning. So with that being said, I am going to go on with the original story of Hunchback of Notre Dame. And believe me, it is more, you could definitely say, more disturbing compared to the original to the Disney one. And you could definitely say why Disney did change a lot of it. So, with that being said, Hugo began writing this book sometime in Paris in 1829, largely to make his countenance aware of the value of the Gothic agriculture. So, yeah, that's basically what the concept of the whole story is about. So, I'm going to basically sit here and explains what the original story is about. So, with that being said, there were certain characters that were, in from the Disney one. So let's begin. So the Paris story is set in 1482 during the religion of Louis the sixth or something, I don't know. Esmeralda was born as anxious, captures the heart of many men, including captive Phoebus and of course Quasimodo. But of course, as his guardian, Frollo is torn between the obsessive lust for Esmeralda and his rules from Notre Dame and Caffredel. So he orders Quasimodo to kidnap her. But however, though, with that being said, Quasimodo is captured by Phoebus and his guards, who save Esmeralda. So Esmeralda gets knocked out by Quasimodo, is helped to be hanged by buggers, and when Esmeralda saves him, agrees and marry him for 4 years. So the following day, Quasimodo is sentenced to be flogged out as he turned to be on public exposure, and he recalls for water. Seeing Esmeralda starts to get, she captures his heart when she offers him a drink. So later, Esmeralda, in the book, ends up getting arrested and charged for attempted murder of Phoebus, who Frollo actually attempted to kill her in jealousy of seeing him seduce Esmeralda. So she is sentenced to death by hanging. So yeah, she has been and held at the gallows, which of course Quasimodo swings down and carries her off to the Caffredel, temporarily protecting her under the law of sanctuary from, arrest. So Frollo later informs Gringoire about the court's parliament and is voted to move Esmeralda's right to the sanctuary so she can no longer seek shelter in the Caffredel and will be taken away to be killed. So, with that being said, when Quasimodo sees the Roma and assumes that they're here to hurt Esmeralda, he drives them off. Likewise, he thinks that the kings want to rescue her and tries to help them find her, but when she is rescued by Frollo, but yet again, another failed attempt to win for her love, Frollo betrays Esmeralda by handing her to the troops watches, and she gets killed, basically. They hang her. So when Frollo laughs during Esmeralda's hanging, Quasimodo pushes him off the height of the Notre Dame to his death. With nothing to live for, Quasimodo vanishes, and he's never seen again. So that's basically what happens is in one version of it, which is the one we do know, is Quasimodo vanishes as he has nothing to live for and he's never seen again. But in the original version, Quasimodo's skeleton is found many years later inside the charnel house with a massive grave with a bunch of bodies in dispute for the criminals who were incriminably being thrown, implying that Quasimodo sought Esmeralda from among the decaying corpses laid beside her. He dies himself as the guards attempt to pull the embracing skeletons apart. So, yeah, that's basically what the original ending they were having. So, basically everyone dies. Yeah, I could definitely say, I am glad Disney did not go to the route as killing everybody off. So, yeah, I could definitely say, I'm really glad that, Disney did not go as far as, killing, Quasimodo or anybody off. Well, they could keep Frollo's death. Frollo's death was just totally understandable because I can understand why, Frollo did the things that he did, which he was a asshole in the movie. I can definitely say that. Frollo was a total asshole. But with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say right now that I actually found the story to be rather nice. Although I haven't seen, the Hunchback of Notre Dame in, a very long time. I definitely have to say that the story itself was actually really well made and detailed. It was actually pretty amazing. So, with that being said, I'm going to sit here and say, the original Hunchback of Notre Dame was pretty good. I definitely have to say it was very well made. There was a lot of great time and effort into the movie. And I could definitely say the original story was messed up too. But at least it wasn't as bad as we all thought it was going to be. So, I'm going to sit here and, kind of explain, that's simply, what the whole Hunchback of Notre Dame story is. Yes, it is messed up. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really messed up concept, but it's still a pretty good movie. Like, the whole story itself was pretty good. I like the Disney one, but I also like the original story. Although the original story was a lot more darker than the other story was. So I'm just definitely gonna say right now that that is definitely something that I'm just willing to say right now. So, with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and explain this. Yeah, so what did you guys all think of the Hunchback of Notre Dame? Do you like the Disney one? Did you like the original story? Do you like them both? What did you think of them, and how? And also, what would you have done to make them a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below, because I would really like to hear, your thoughts and opinions on, the story. So, with that being said, yeah, what did you guys think about the Hunchback of Notre Dame story? Do you like the movie? Do you like the original story? What would you have done to make this Hunchback of Notre Dame story better? Leave me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please stay tuned, and I will be seeing you all in the next upload.